Alright, the OnePlus 10T just got delivered to a house about 2 blocks down from me, but now it's time to unbox it, and I've got 1 week and 5 days to tell you guys if it's good and worth the money or not. Alright, surprise, surprise, I ended up in New York, and as much as I want to be tearing up these streets just taking photos with the OnePlus 10T everywhere, we have to hop inside and talk about what makes this phone special before we can do that. So let's do that really, really quick, and then we'll come back. OnePlus is back with its old tricks this year. It has the OnePlus 10T right here, which brings the T nomenclature back. I don't know if it's chip shortages or what, they changed it all up last year, but it seems like OnePlus is back on track. Now, the exciting thing about this phone is that in Canada, it comes in at $850. I believe in the States it's $650, putting it only $50 above the Google Pixel 6. And once we get more into this, you'll realize those two are very, very close competitors. The 10T is close to flagship status, but it's not quite there. In classic OnePlus fashion, or I guess maybe old school OnePlus fashion, the company cut maybe just the right corners to make this phone more approachable to everyone while not costing a ton. That means there's no wireless charging, there's no IP rating, and there's no telephoto zoom lens, but there is still a lot to love in here. And speaking of the cameras, there's actually a 50 megapixel primary shooter that is phenomenal, but we'll get more into that later. So once you get over the fact that it's not quite a flagship, even though OnePlus is kind of telling us it's a flagship, there is a ton to love here. We have 165 watt fast charging that will go from 0 to full in 25 minutes. It's extraordinary. On top of that, the battery, which is only a 4800 milliamp hour cell, but combined with some new stuff in the Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 Plus, is lasting a super long time. I'm getting like 7 hours of screen on time out of this beast. And it just goes on and on from there with 120 Hz 10-bit display, 5G capability, which actually works in Canada quite well now, and it's just better connectivity in general. Bluetooth, everything is improved here, and there's 10-bit in this display, and the haptic engine is super good. It's been pretty good since the OnePlus 9, but I have absolutely no complaints here. I think this is a better haptic engine than what's in the Pixel 6 by far. So to address sort of like the elephant in the room, yes, I do miss the OnePlus alert slider, but I don't know, they're telling us that like it was the alert slider or extra battery life, and if that's the ultimatum, I'm gonna have to choose battery life. And the fact that the battery life in this phone is so good makes me think that they're telling the truth, and I guess I'm okay with that when I really sit down and think about it. I do hope that they're going to actually improve the software implementation of a mute switch. I mean, Google has a pretty good one on the Pixel. I believe Samsung is a very similar one as well. When you just hit the volume button, it sort of pops up and you can just tap it to mute. And I'm hoping OnePlus will implement something like that in the future. They seem to be hinting that they're working on something or working on bringing the slider back in future phones. So we'll have to see how it goes. So I think one of the main competitors for this phone is actually Google's Pixel 6, right? I've been saying it's only a little less, but it does have some advantages. It has wireless charging, it has an official waterproof rating. I think it has a better hardware and software design, and so on and so forth. But where OnePlus pulls ahead is that it has much faster charging, a much better screen, and a much, much faster fingerprint reader, which I know is very exciting for a lot of people. It's Editing Desk Brad here. I just wanted to say, I don't know how I missed this, but the OnePlus 10T is much more powerful than the Pixel 6. I mean, the Tensor has some cool dictation features and all those Tensor-specific features, Magic Eraser, what have you, but if you're like a mobile gamer or someone looking for pure performance, the 10T takes the cake compared to the Pixel 6 at the very least. Oh, and the final thing, the Pixel 6 doesn't even come with a charging brick, so OnePlus's charging is faster, and that brick is included in the box. And I don't know if most people would go out and spend $50 on a charger just to kind of keep up, but I don't know, it's kind of that price difference does get a little less when you sort of take that into account. And I guess I should mention here that I do love OnePlus chargers. I'm literally using one for my MacBook right now because it can push enough wattage that it can power like everything. So it's actually very handy to have. It's definitely worth $50. Anyway, I'm in New York, right? It's a phone launch, so why am I sitting in this hotel room? Let's get out on the streets, let's take some photos, and see what we can do. So when it comes down to it, I'm super impressed with the photos of the OnePlus 10T. It takes 10-bit images just like the 10 Pro, so the colors are vibrant, and even though Hasselblad isn't involved, I think it still looks very, very true to life, and the photos are really, really easy to edit from, which I appreciate for sure. That that being said, I wish OnePlus would have taken this opportunity to maybe change up its focal length. For the last 3, 4, 5 years, phones have been sitting around that like 23 to 28 millimeter focal length, but after playing with the ZTE Accent 40 lately and that 35 millimeter focal length, I would really love to see OnePlus do something similar in the future. I think it would help its photos stand out a lot and add a lot more creamy background blur. As you've likely already noticed, and as I've probably mentioned already, the OnePlus 10T doesn't have any Hasselblad branding on the rear of the phone. So basically nothing really changes. The color science doesn't seem to have shifted much, but we've lost those orange accents, that fun Hasselblad shutter sound, and much to my disappointment, X-Pan mode, which was just a ton of fun. So sad to see it go. But I think it'll be back on the 11 Pro next year, it seems. As a proxy for the missing X-Pen lens, the ultra-wide is also a step down this year too. So while it was really great on the OnePlus 9 Pro, it was decent with a really huge field of view on the OnePlus 10 Pro, it's just a standard 119 degree ultra-wide here. So there's nothing really discreetly wrong with it, but it's just not necessarily always fun to see OnePlus taking 2 steps forward and then 1 step back. Yeah, and speaking of disappointing lenses, for some strange reason, it seems like more like just to fill out the camera bump, OnePlus has also added a 2 megapixel macro lens, which is here, and it works as advertised, but do we really want a separate 2 megapixel macro lens, or do we just want a better ultra wide like we had on the OnePlus 9 Pro? I think we just want the ultra wide. That's better. I don't know why they keep doing this to us. And that's kind of all there is for the camera. That main 50 megapixel sensor is really good. I wish it was a bit of a tighter focal length, but I can't complain about it too much. The macro lens, I will be like, why is that there? Whatever. And the ultra wide is fine, but it is just a bit disappointing to see OnePlus step back the quality of the ultra wides after the last few years. I mean, I get that this phone needs to be a little cheaper, but that ultra wide from the OnePlus 9 would have been really keen to have here. Alright, I'm on my way back to the hotel now, and that's basically all I have to say about the camera. I mean, this is the front-facing camera now. It looks okay, and to be honest, it gets the job done. And plus, I don't know, that main 50 megapixel lens, which is the one I think most people will be using most of the time, is more than enough. So, I don't know. Let's go check out the event. Alright, I'm still on the 10T. I just walked out of the OnePlus launch event back there, and well, I was going to capture my content and give you guys the conclusion inside. The music is a little loud, even though the street is loud enough. Anyway, I don't know where I'm going, but there's just like 2 random things that I want to add on to my review. Basically, Oxygen OS 13 looks like Color OS, so if you want to learn more about it, just look up Color OS and you'll learn about it, and that's that. But the other interesting thing that I didn't expect is that the green version of the phone actually feels way more premium in the hand. That like smooth glass back feels way less plasticky than the balsa black one that I'm using. I guess it's called Moonstone. So yeah, I guess if I was buying one, I would love the color, so I'm going green either way, but it just feels way nicer in the hand, and I didn't expect that. So that's about all I got for you guys. It was been a pretty fun week in New York. I hope you enjoyed the photos and the video. If you want some more, please subscribe to help us grow the channel, and you can follow me online at the BradFad, follow MobileSyrup anywhere at MobileSyrup, and remember that I love you, and I'll see you in the next one.